Hello and welcome to another class in Coleman University's Professional Development Training Series. In this, our final class on Moodle for the current series, we will be examining some of the means to load resources into your Moodle platform. This is helpful for both online instructors and those with on-ground companion sites who wish to forego the cost of printing and distributing materials. It's also an excellent way of linking to relevant multimedia content without the difficulties involved in moving large files or having copyright issues. In today's training, we will look at both static and dynamic resources that can be loaded into your class. Included within this are some of the block options that allow you to make use of the sidebars in the Moodle platform. Finally, we will introduce a basic training source for HTML and Moodle should you decide to become a little more creative in your web pages. There are two general categories of resources that you can load into the Moodle platform. Static, resources that are not interactive, do not change from day to day, and are typically text-based. And dynamic, those resources that may be interactive, are changeable, and include multimedia. As you can see in this list, there are many resources available to you both on the course front page and in the blocks columns. Static resources, which includes book, file, folder, IMS content, label, and page, along with the HTML block, are all means of providing students with reading materials. The Moodle interface for each of these front page resources is similar. In each case, title and description are required fields. For the file and folder resources, instructors must also submit content files for upload. While with the label and page resources, instructors can enter the content directly into the text box associated with that resource. The book resource is a unique and somewhat convoluted tool to use and will not be covered in this training. Instructional Management Systems, IMS, content is external material such as PowerPoint presentations that are placed in a standardized packet and imported into Moodle. Typically, there is minimal interaction with the student other than turning pages, but in some cases you may find there are embedded questions in the materials. As with file and folder resources, for IMS, the content files have to be loaded as well as providing the title and description. When selecting resources, the determining factor is the depth of the content you wish to share. The general rule of thumb with online classes is to have minimal content on the front page. Use links to drive students into the data rather than dumping all the data in one place. If your content is only a sentence or two, assuming it is important, you can use a label to reveal it all at once on the front page. If the content is not as important or a bit larger, you can use the page or file options. If the content is quite lengthy or contains many files, you can use the folder, create a book, or if the content is open source and in the IMS format, load the IMS content. Whenever a text box is used within Moodle, especially for labels, pages, and the HTML block, HTML code can be utilized. The HTML editing box has to be made active by clicking on the HTML button. Be aware the box only controls body-level coding. Instructors are not able to enter code into the head of the page. It is also important to note that writing HTML code in any text box, especially questions in the question bank, may be treated by Moodle as if the code was intended to be processed. This can cause disruption. Here you can see the difference when the same HTML code is pasted into the rich text editor and then in the HTML editor. Notice that when the HTML code originally entered is saved, it displays the code as part of the label in rich text. When using blocks, as opposed to adding resources in the front page, there are some different options that you need to be aware of. In addition to whatever content the block has, you are able to determine which column, left or right, where in that column, top to bottom, called weight, from -10 at the top of the column down through +10 at the bottom of the column, and on which pages the block should appear. Be careful which page is visible when you add a block, as this will determine on which pages the block will be visible. Good practice is to load them when the front page is visible to allow you maximum flexibility. To access the HTML block, scroll down to the bottom of the sidebar to the Add a Block activity. Use the pull-down and select HTML. New blocks appear on the bottom of the left column, which is where we find the, in parentheses, new HTML block. With Editing On, use the gray gear icon to edit the block. You can enter a block title, along with whatever content you want to appear, where you want it to appear on the column, and on what pages. Your options are to place the block in the left or right side columns, and the weight indicates how high on the column the block appears. Settings in the Where this block appears box affects the default, while settings made in the On this page box only affect the current page. The current page settings will override the default. This is a great way of creating a quick note or headline for students. Most of the dynamic content comes in the form of linking to outside activities, using a URL to watch a video or visit a tool or a copyrighted document that exists outside Moodle. Realize that such activities can't be recorded within Moodle, meaning if you send your students off to take an interactive quiz on a professional site, you won't be able to directly capture their scores. There are some tools that exist, Shareable Content Object Reference Model, SCORM, activities, which can do this, but these are beyond the scope of this course. That said, you can embed videos directly into your course so students don't leave the site, and you can bring data into your course shell through RSS feeds. Let's look at some of these tools. Embedding a URL is easy. Select Resources, URL, and enter a title and description along with the full external URL. Best practice is to open the page you want in another window, cut and paste the full URL directly from the browser window into the text box. One of the options is to display the page automatically. Moodle chooses, often just providing a link and then replacing the screen. You can embed the page within the Moodle page. Open, which isn't recommended as it replaces the Moodle page in the current window. And pop-up, also problematic due to the frequent use of pop-up blockers, which keeps a window from displaying in the student's device. You may need to play around with this to see what works best for you. Try it in a number of browsers, as they may react slightly differently. YouTube videos are easy to embed, but it requires a trip to YouTube itself. From the YouTube page you're viewing the content in, choose the Share link and copy the Embed HTML code they provide. Once you have the code, you can embed your YouTube video in any text box in Moodle. All you have to do is open the text box, click on the HTML button, and paste your code directly into the window. You can modify the frame within the code to 560 pixels wide by 315 pixels high, which seems to be an optimal size for a given Moodle page. Students can always click the full page option on the player if they wish a larger image. You can add text or images around your embedded video if you wish. There are 4 dynamic blocks that you may find useful in your classes. First, you can add really simple syndication, RSS, feeds into your class. To prepare for this, simply do a Google search looking for RSS feeds in the fields that you're interested in for your course. Capture the URL for that feed and bring it back to Moodle. Scroll down the sidebar to the Add a Block pull-down and choose Remote RSS. You may find that some feeds are already available in your course. If not, click the Add Edit Feeds link. Click on the Add a New Feed button and paste the URL. You can enter your own title for this feed or leave the title space blank to use the default set up by the publisher. Click on the Add a New Feed to finish saving. Return to the home page and scroll down to edit the RSS field block again using the gray gear icon. You should now see your RSS feed in the Choose the Feeds block. You can adjust the number of entries you want to show and modify the title if you wish. Click on the feed you wish to use. You can choose to link back to the original site or allow the original site to provide an image if you wish. As we saw earlier, you can adjust where the block appears, both throughout the course and on this page. Click Save Changes, and you should be able to see your RSS feed. These real-time articles are a great means of starting a class discussion or as a starting point in an online forum. Creating a blog is also simple. From the Add a Block, choose Blog menu. You can use the gray gear to configure its position on the page. And it comes with 6 different options for viewing and adding blog entries, including making your blog RSS capable in outside readers. Simply click on Add a new entry and add a title and a body. You can add attachments and publish to your students, anyone on the site, or just to yourself if you want a draft copy. You can add tags to your blog and then save changes. Note that the blog is attached to you, the user, not to the course itself. Choosing the option to add a blog entry about this course allows you to associate your comment with the course. If you don't want to go to the trouble of creating a blog, you can use the Comments block to create individual entries that can be shared with the class. The use of the Comments block is self-explanatory, and it is moved the same way as the other blocks. One final block you may want to play with is the Quiz Results block. When first selected, the Quiz Results block shows an error in the sidebar. You must have a quiz already created and associate it with this block. Assuming you have a quiz created, use the gray gear icon to link the two. In the block settings, you'll see the quiz's name in the pull-down, along with the options you have for the block. You can choose however many high or low grades you wish to show. 0 disables the function. You can display full names or ID numbers, neither of which is recommended due to privacy issues, or just select anonymous results. Grades can be displayed as percentages, fractions, or absolute numbers. You do not have to create a new block for each quiz. Merely edit the existing block with the gray gear icon and change the quiz. You may find this very helpful in encouraging student performance, especially for the achievement-oriented students, or to help energize the poor performer who realizes that he or she was the only one that didn't do well on the exam. For some of you, with programming or web experience, the use of HTML is going to be second nature. For those of you who do not have this experience, however, don't panic. Not only is the basic HTML you need for these courses fairly simple, there are excellent sources of information. W3schools.com is a great source of explanations, examples, and even try-it-yourself pages, where you can make changes to the HTML code to see what happens in real time. The search function on their site is also excellent if you want to drill down to the question you have. You do not need to become well-versed in HTML to put out beautiful classes, but it helps. Well, that about covers the various ways you can load resources into Moodle. While there are some esoteric ones that we've left for you to discover on your own, we hope that you found this final training in our series on Moodle to be helpful. As always, if you have any questions about Moodle, or teaching online, or if you need help in an online component, we're happy to help. Please stay with us for our next training series, this one on Instructor Fundamentals, covering the basics of learning theory, instructional methodology, classroom techniques, and lesson preparation. We hope to see you there. As always, enjoy yourself and have a wonderful day.